We are back for episode 100 of the Auld Triangle podcast. As always, Andy, Stevenson, Caoilte the Barra are joining me, Ian O'Neill, to talk about all the latest news in Irish mixed martial arts. And there is no bigger news than Cage Warriors 200 coming up this weekend. A massive show, a massive event, a massive night of fights. We've got two great guests incoming, Graham Boylan and Andy Ryan, to discuss that card, and we'll share our thoughts on the card as well. Boys, 100 episodes. We did it. The milestone. Baby, we did it.
It's kind of crazy. I'm not sure if I ever believed we would get to 100. Part of me probably did. Part of me probably didn't. They said it couldn't be done. We've come a long way, Ian, from the very first episode that we never recorded.
Yeah, we definitely did. We were laughing about that, reminiscing about. I guess there was an opportunity there for us to kind of, and I think with the other Severe podcast, they're covering world mixed martial arts as well. It was a chance for us to kind of come in and put a big focus on Irish mixed martial arts, and I think a focus that it deserves as well. So we were throwing ideas out there and wanting to get it going, and it was great to have you two lads there that we could bounce the upcoming events and everything with. But yeah, we remember getting started here. We had, I don't know, maybe we had the name, we had no logo, we had no structure, and I was I said episode 1, boys, let's get in here for episode 1, boy. Honey dick you, I sold you wolf tickets. The boys came in there, I remember you're all excited, and I was like, lads,
We're not fucking doing this.
Not recording. We're not ready. We're not ready. So we sat down, we hashed out what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, and look, it's still in some ways kind of trying to figure that out 100 episodes in, but it's been a good old journey and a good old ride so far, and there's no other two fellas that I would have preferred to do it other than yourselves. So fucking happy days we got here, and hopefully, look down the line there could be 100 more, lads. Any fond memories yourself, Andy? Caoilte, Andy first, maybe.
I have a question.
Go on ahead, Caoilte.
How do we come up with Auld Triangle again? I have a feeling.
It was Andy's idea, was it?
Was that inspired by someone walking out to the 3 Arena, or am I just?
No, it was. I'll take credit for it. It was your brainchild. You know what it was? Is it was during COVID. During COVID, because we started in 2022, I think it was, and I actually I had COVID, and it was back then, like, you thought the fucking world was going to end or whatever. This was like prior to us starting, and I was trying not to get my missus sick, so I was in the spare room, but for like 2 weeks, or not for 2 weeks, for however long it was in, I was just fucking going stir crazy, being like, what am I going to do here? So I think I ended up like creating a YouTube channel of my own for MMA. And then it was during that, it was like, right, what are we going to call this thing? And it was like, right, there's 3 of us. What can we loop in with 3? What can we loop in with MMA? And then something Irish, obviously. So the Auld Triangle kind of just it ticked all 3 boxes. It was Irish, obviously, it was the 3 of us. And then, of course, the triangle submission. So that's kind of where we got it. And I remember we reached out to, I think the guy's name was Needing Art on Twitter. I think that's who it was, who made the logo for us. And then, of course, you, Caoilte, you're good pals with the lads over at Under Starling, or you'd have made in the band, who allowed us to use the intro music, which we still use today, which we have to peel the curtain back. If you only watch us on YouTube, you've never heard it, or you've rarely heard it.
This was the first couple of episodes when we got, even though YouTube, how dare you, we do have permission. Like, we literally got full on permission from the band, but YouTube hit us up for a couple of copyrights, so we had to actually go back and edit all the first couple of episodes and get that right. But yeah, we do have permission to use it, but it's a great song as well, and that's it. Yeah, it's crazy times, Caoilte.
The other thing I'd say as well is this has been, before we even launched this and before you reached out to us to launch this, Ian, this has actually been coming years in advance. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, or definitely not in the podcast, but you reached out to me, I think, before you were even doing anything with SevereMMA.
Yeah.
And I remember receiving this kind of DM on Twitter, And I was like, who's this lad messaging me? And you were really eager in a fucking great way. And you're like, I've got all these ideas. Me and you can do a podcast on Irish MMA. This is long before I think, Caoilte, you were probably doing stuff with Tapology and elsewhere. I don't think you were doing anything with Severe at this time either. And you were pitching this idea of an Irish MMA specific podcast, Ian. And I think that was maybe 2019, 2020 maybe. Like it was
before. I think I had, like, because I had seen you doing a lot of like the Irish MMA work for SevereMMA, and I loved what you were doing. And obviously, SevereMMA was Irish MMA. It was the epitome. That's what, it was kind of arm in arm with Irish mixed martial arts. And when I started kind of, when I was fighting, number one, and when I was, kind of coming up and the growth of Irish mixed martial arts and all of Graham's documentaries as well. And, I think we wanted that to continue a little bit too, and I think I also saw the potential of Irish mixed martial arts, because let's say like in 2018 and 2019, there was somewhat maybe of a lull after Conor McGregor and, most of the rest of the first class of big Irish stars kind of coming in. But I was looking at the amateur ranks. I was looking at early professionals and thinking like there's another big wave coming, and we're right in the middle of that wave right now, I think, as well. So it was more so kind of maybe being synonymous with that too. But yeah, it was a while ago. I always had the aspirations to do it because I have a passion for mixed martial arts, but I always had a passion for Irish mixed martial arts, and I'm delighted that we got it off the ground.
Didn't 100%. Speak to either of you at that point, to be honest.
Oh,
yeah. I was off doing my own thing. I didn't speak to anyone. Even Sean or all them. I was like, no.
But you were the glue that we needed, because where Ian and I were looking at probably the pro side. Like I definitely wasn't looking much at amateur at all until we started linking up, Caoilte, and you were kind of shoving it down our throats for the better. So it was
They've done pretty well, some of them, haven't they?
Not too bad at all. Like, I mean, your level of knowledge there of the amateur game, especially even when we started as well, was, and I guess the way it's kind of progressed is those amateurs are now professionals too, but we kind of followed the journeys along there. But the journey started, with your in-depth knowledge, and you were telling us, hey lads, there's this person's coming, this person is coming, because you're in depth in the amateur scene, Caoilte.
It's great crack. I miss those days, because to be honest with you, a lot of the scene at the moment the amateur scene at the moment isn't what it was. Just throwing that out there. It just isn't. It's going to take about 2 years. Lots of lads jump to pro very early now. We're not going to have an amateur scene like we had when this began for a while. I think it'll take 2 years for it to build up. The talent, like, go through the names, it's just insanity. And now, like, look at the card of the Cage Warriors alone. Like, so I kind of miss it because I fucking loved it. You see all these lads coming through, and it's it'll take a while for that to build back up. But jeez, they were good days, still good days, but they're all pro now, so I love it.
100%. And look at the journeys that we were a part of, anyone who's come on and given us time over the last 100 episodes as well. I feel blessed to be a part of it. People have come on and bared their soul here and told their stories and, made us a part of their journey in some small way as well. And, I take great pride in that. Being able to provide a platform to tell people's stories. But, a lot of people took out a lot of time of their schedules to come and speak with us. And, we had Andy Ryan on, who was our very first guest as well. So there's kind of a sentimental value to us to have him back on again for the 100 episode. And, hopefully we can keep her lit. We can keep going for another 100 episodes, lads. I think, we have to give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back. Andy, you do a lot of behind the scenes work for this podcast. A lot of editing, you're putting videos together, you push it out on socials and stuff like that. And, I have to give you maximum credit for that, because that's the reach, where we started, where we got from, get pushing out that socials. The socials is a difficult enough one for me to be able to kind of manage and do. You
fucking pain in the hole.
you do a great job at it, though, man. And you that's important for us and growth and our outreach as well. And we've picked up thousands and thousands of social media views, and that's all hard work that goes in with you and behind the scenes and the work that nobody sees in between podcasts as well. So fair play to you for that, and fair play to Caoilte.
It's a funny thing because, like, most people start a podcast and they're like, right, I want this thing to grow to 1 million listens and followers or whatever. It's like, while we've done very well and we've got great traction, and a lot of that comes down to the guests, because it's the guest stories a lot of the time that are being pushed out there. Occasionally people want to listen to us, hopefully, as well, but I'm well aware that it's the guests also drive your kind of your interactions and your views and all that stuff. But like, we do a podcast about Irish mixed martial arts in a country where it's a very niche sport to begin with, and then we start going into, sometimes we'll do 2 hours and the bulk of that could be on like 3 local shows, or this is never going to be, or it's not, sorry, I don't want to say it's never going to be this big thing. The goal isn't coming in here to be this big thing. I think what for me anyway, the L Triangle has represented is an unbiased to as much as we possibly can, in a bubble of Irish mixed martial arts, which everyone knows everyone, and you're interacting with people, and it is impossible not to have some sort of human connection or human relationship with fighters or coaches or whatever. But the way I certainly approach it, I know the way you guys approach it, is down the middle, unbiased. I'm not coming on here to cheer for fighters, even though as a human I do want these fighters to succeed, but it's to try and come in here and cover them fairly, to be critical when we need to be, not just to promoters, like not just if they're promoters from abroad. It's across the board, to call stuff out, to be the voice of reason sometimes, and also to be just not no bullshit, to be honest with you. Like, that's the way I like to come in. So I hope that we've kind of created a space for that in Irish MMA, and I'm sure I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm sure we piss people off sometimes, but I don't think anyone can really ever say for 95+% of the time that we've ever been unfair. And I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that too. It's like, views and getting bigger, growing the podcast would all be bonuses and not something that I want to strive to achieve. What I want is, I wanted an avenue to share my passion for Irish mixed martial arts, because I love MMA and I love Irish MMA and I love being able to tell people stories. So, if we can continue to do that and just maintain what we have right now and doing it with the two of you lads, I'll be happy doing that for as long as we can keep this ride going. And yeah, we'll see where the next couple of years takes us. But to each 100, it's been great old experience so far, and I'm glad of it.
Is there any specific moment that, to Caoilte's original question, that stands out to you? For me, it's Liam Shannon's entrance into the podcast. That's just the one that immediately sprung to mind when you said that earlier on. It was like, I mean, that was just something else. I don't even know how to describe that. But there's been so many guests on it. It's hard to kind of think back to big moments on the podcast or interesting moments or stories or etc.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a tough one for me. I guess there's probably all, we've had a couple of great interviews from the likes of Danny McCormick and Dylan Tuke, and Will Fleury has come on, and those are kind of my favorite interviews, where there's no kind of filter. It's all honest and raw. And we've had lots of other ones as well. With Caolan Loughran, we had the Loughran brothers on at one of the early episodes as well.
That was a good crack, actually, where he was telling the story of him beating the shit. It was Caolan boxing the head off Tiernan in the car as they're driving.
Yeah, it was very funny as well. So, those are, it's hard to pinpoint one. I think the whole thing as a package has been, something that, I'm enjoying when it's happening, but sometimes if it doesn't last forever, it's something that I'll look back on and be very proud of as well, to just be a small part of the Irish MMA community. And, it's a good feeling, man. That's why we come on here every second week, and we all have hectic personal lives and lots of stuff going on, but this is something that I look forward to. This is something that, if maybe I'm not in the best of form with stuff going on, or I'm a little bit stressed, this is my outlet here. It's kind of like therapy to me in some ways, to be able to come on and talk to you about the fights and talk to other fighters about their upcoming fights, and share moments like even more recently when we talked to someone like Solomon Simon last week, and he gives us a level of intensity that he did that you feel energized after. You feel like you're ready to walk through some walls. So that's a good feeling. It's nice to be able to be part of it. So
I'll give you a standout moment. It's a standout because it's actually one of my favorite interviews. And the reason it lives rent free in my head is because I wasn't able to be there for it. Is so early on managing to get Joe Duffy, who no one had seen for years.
Great.
And the interview was I was in London at the time. I was going to UFC London. I had to go to get my credential, and the two hopped on. And I just remember leaving, and I was like walking down by the river, and I was just like, fucking hell, I was like, this is going to be unreal. And then it was absolutely fantastic. But that lives rent free in my head because I missed that one. Unbelievable interview though, just from start to finish. So that's a standout one, and I'm not even part of it.
He was great. He was great. Man, just I remember just the one thing I just remember coming away is like, this man fucking, put on unbelievable fights and represented Ireland at an amazing level in the sport, and he's still working away as a roofer now. It's just like,
and happy as Larry doing it too.
Delighted. I like just. Yeah, I don't know. I always go to the negative in that. I'm like, fuck this sport. Like, it needs to fucking pay people more. But the contentment that he had in retirement was beautiful. It was brilliant to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look at lots of great memories from the past that we could stay here and probably reminisce for quite some time. But we do have a big card to look forward to, and that's Cage Warriors 200 this coming weekend. And let's go straight into the head honcho himself, Graham Boylan, for him to share his thoughts on the card, the growth of the promotion, and what maybe future plans he has as well. So I'm going to send it over to myself there to lead us in to that interview. After visiting 14 countries and 37 different cities, including London, Manchester, Liverpool, Cardiff, Swansea, Glasgow, Belfast, San Diego, Orlando, Rome, Copenhagen, Dubai, Beirut, Grozny, Gothenburg, Kiev, and of course Cork, Cage Warriors will return to Dublin for their 200 event on February 21st. And we have the man who made it all happen here with us today, Graham Boylan, to discuss the event that's happening in the RDS Arena this coming weekend. And I guess, Graham, it had to be Dublin for this event. Lots of cities there. I know you're telling us you're traveling all around the world and you're sitting in Cork right now, but for the 200 event, the big show, it had to be Dublin. There's been a lot of incredible Irish nights over the years.
Listing all those cities and countries, you've made me feel my 51 years of age, man. That's made me feel like you've listed all them. I'm like, fuck me, do we do all them? Yeah. An Irish-owned organisation, an Irish company, there was no fitting place than to be in Ireland for Cage Warriors 200. It's going to be a momentous event for us. I've thrown everything at this, from bonuses to trips to Vegas to one-off collectors item merch that we've had created with Hyperfly. It's gonna be big night of fights, but come Sunday morning, it's done, it's over. We're already in Manchester, and we got 2 shows in Manchester a couple of weeks later, and 7 days after that we're back in London sharing the venue with the UFC. So it's a big night, but we're back to square one Sunday morning.
Yeah, and look at it's crazy to hear you say that. Is there any moment that you want to kind of give yourself to kind of take it in and understand maybe the achievement of getting to 200 events, the longest running show in Europe, and maybe it's the mindset that you just spoke about there and always thinking about what's next that has got you to where you are right now as well. But at any stage, maybe over the coming week or over the past couple of weeks on the run up to this event, Graham, have maybe sat back to take it all in and what you have achieved as an organization and as a promotion?
I think the reason we are where we are and we've lasted as long as we have is because of that mindset. It's easy to get caught up in thinking, you know, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread when you do X, Y, Z, or whatever you achieve within the sport or whatever you're doing. But I think we'll have long enough when we're retired and dead to praise ourselves on what we did, you know. While we're here and living, get it done, move on to the next one. It's over, it's history. Talk about it when you want to talk about it, but let's move to the next one and get it finished. Let's move to the next one and get it done. And when you're doing 18 shows a year across numerous countries, continents, you don't have time to sit down and praise and take it all in. It's kind of, we'll do that another time. We can sit down and have all the stories and catch up on everything when we're sitting on a campfire and using crutches or Zimmer frames to get round, or, you know, we don't need to do it now. It's too much life. There's too much life left. Let's get it done. Move on to the next one.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's going to make my next question a little bit awkward here, haven't you said? Because we want to ask you to reminisce maybe a little bit on you know, a couple of the incredible shows and incredible moments and incredible fights that we've had in Ireland through the years. Obviously, it accumulates into another historic show that's coming up this weekend. But, you know, is there any way or any kind of fight that or moment or event that sticks out with you in the history of Cage Warriors, obviously, that happened on Irish soil that sticks out to you, Graham?
I think if you want to pinpoint and go into that, I think they're great conversations to have, but there's always something you miss when you're on the spot mentioning something. But let's play the game. Let's put me on the spot, and I would say the most obvious ones are the Helix nights that we put on, coming closer to home, the Reese McKee at the 3 Arena, and then you bring it closer again, James Sheehan and Conrad. You know, those nights were, you know, spectacular. And it's times when you're kind of traveling around or you're sitting on a plane or you're flying somewhere, you start thinking about these things and you're like, fuck me, that was unbelievable, you know? And, you know, we're going to do it again next Saturday night at the RDS. We're close to a sellout. Like, there's not many tickets left. That atmosphere in that venue is going to be electric. You could probably cut it with a knife. It's going to be, and there's a lot up for grabs. You know, there's a bunch of guys fighting there that, you know, they're a fight or two either away from signing or going into DWCS. That wave that we've stepped in and developed over the past 2 years, it's getting ripe. You know, that cycle is ripe to go. So I think the island in the next 12 to 18 months is going to have some big stars in their hands.
Yeah, indeed it is. Indeed it is. And obviously this event itself is a huge milestone for the organization. We've seen lots of big spots, even on UFC broadcasts and everything like that, Graham. We've seen, you know, Redzer did a fantastic job of breaking down some of those big moments that you did see. You talked about there, obviously, on Irish soil. Is there anything else? I know that you mentioned the new kind of gear that you have out as well, that you're going to be selling off, the one-off hoodies and T-shirts that I've seen on the Cage Warriors. Anything else that we can expect on the lead up or on the build up to this event in the coming week?
Yeah, I've been working on this through December while everyone was off enjoying the old festive Christmas season. I was working on what we could throw at this to make it better. What can we throw at the wall here to really make differences? And obviously there's 10 grand of my own fucking money going. So that wasn't something I gave into lightly, but I stuck it on the wall and I thought, right, is that going to make a difference? Is that going to fire them up? We've got something else to go in there. Maybe the start of this week we'll announce another bonus that's going to go out. The Hyperfly deal I think is great for the fans to get these one-off collector pieces, you know. And of course the trip to the UFC PI for one of those athletes is going to be absolutely phenomenal. They're going to get a bird's eye view of what their future holds. And I don't know if any of you guys have been there, but it will open your eyes to the next level of this game, of what is available to these athletes once they're there. So that for me was a big thing to make happen. Took a few meetings, took a little bit of persuading, but to make that happen for somebody and for that person at Cage Warriors level to go and view, to go and be involved, to go be tested, to go through all that scenario of understanding this is now going to be life. This is now going to be my next level. And in all the years and the hours that I've put in, this is now within reach. So to give someone that opportunity, for me, is probably over the money, over everything else that we're doing. For me, that's going to be the big thing. That's up for grabs, as well as everybody trying to get a win and move their record on. That's a big thing that's up for grabs. For
sure, absolutely fantastic, and that definitely adds a bigger meaning to a lot of the fighters who are coming into this card as well, looking to put on. It's so, would it be performance bonuses, like kind of, what are you doing, a fight of the night or a finish of the night? What kind is the criteria for anybody that might not know? And so that
yeah, so we're gonna stick that up Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Well, this podcast might not be out until Wednesday, so if you want to talk about it now.
the baskets of prizes are there, so we have a good idea how we're gonna do them. Obviously, it'll be a performance of the night, it'll be a finish of the night. The trip to the PI will be a performance. So we're just working on a few little more details, which we'll drip out throughout the week, just to motivate guys, basically. You know, when they're cutting weight and they're fucking miserable, hungry, it's nice to see little bits pop out. Oh fuck, this is gonna happen. Oh shit, you just nudge them along a little bit, get them along that road.
No, big time. And all the videos that I'm seeing on Instagram with all the fighters getting prepared here, that's all they're saying, is that they have the 10 grand and that's what they're using to motivate themselves. And that's going to mean more exciting fights. That's going to put the kind of edge on that, you know, most of these guys will be looking to go in and make some life-changing money there. So I think it's an absolutely massive thing. Obviously, we're looking ahead to two big fights at the top of the bill as well. Solomon Simon versus Nick Bagley for the unified 145-pound title, Graham. For me, before the title was even a thing in here, I thought that this was one of the best fights that Cage Warriors could put on, full stop. When you had, you know, this fight was supposed to happen and then it kind of, you know, didn't at the last minute, and it kind of worked out that it's happening on the 200 card here. You add the title into this over 5 rounds with two guys who love to come and finish fights. Absolutely phenomenal fight to top the bill. What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's probably one of the best 45 fights we're going to put on. It's like Solomon and Bagley. You know, I will be in my seat, glued from walkout to finish for that fight. It's got fireworks written all over it. I said to everybody, and I'll say it again, it pisses me off that someone has to lose in Cage Warriors. It does genuinely fucking piss me off that someone has to lose at Cage Warriors at that level. Because it's like you're on the last step of the ladder, man. You're there. You're literally on the last step of the ladder, and someone's got to take a couple of steps down. That's the one side of it that I look at, because we spend so much time developing people. And to get to that situation where it's a shit or bust, it's all on the line. There's a lot of stake involved in this, and it's a crazy situation to put that much intensity and to put that much into a fight at this level. It's a fight that you'd rather see in the UFC.
Absolutely. But I mean, look, that's what makes Cage Warriors so special, in my opinion, is that, you know, we get these level of fights there, and we have another one in the co-main event too with Dario Bellandi and Paddy McCorry. Obviously, you know, we had spoke to both Solomon and we spoke to Paddy, and the intensity that they showed on the podcast last week when we spoke to them, you know, the meaning on both of these fights. So if we're talking about the middleweight title fight in the co-main event between Bellandi and McCorry, obviously a huge moment for Paddy coming in here. You know, we spoke about the disappointment of what happened in the Contender Series, but he has a real chance to come in here and, you know, win a world title and put himself right back in the mix for a chance to go back to the UFC. And it's a great fight overall. And I'm not counting out Bellandi at all. He's a tough cookie, and he knows how to get the job done as well. And it's a cracking fight to kind of get us warmed up for the main event, Graham.
Yeah, and look, that fight's got fucking that fight for me. Even a co-main event at a middleweight fight, that fight for me is someone's got to finish. Someone's got to finish in that fight. That fight goes a distance. I don't think it helps either guy. And I'm going to be just straight up on this, is either one of those guys, whoever wins, that fight's got to be a finish. because the decision win and being a champion in that fight isn't going to get you signed. That's a fight that has to finish for either one to move forward. You know, I would be confident in saying a decision in that fight means whoever has that belt at the end of that fight is probably going to have to defend it.
Yeah, big time. I won't kind of keep you here all day and make you talk through all the fights on the card, Graham. But is there any other ones that you're looking forward to seeing on the card? Like, I mean, there's an abundance of, we have some great Irish versus Irish fights. We've got some great up and comers, and likes of Conor McCarthy and Max Lally. Some fights that, you know, may have some title implications as well. Anything that's sticking out to you? Anyone that, you know, you'd like to highlight for us?
Yeah, I'd like to see what Leon does. Got my eyes on Leon. I'd like to see what he does in this fight. I'd like to see what Max comes up with. You know, Keith, Connor. There's quite a few fights in there that we have our eyes on that are, you know, the first. It's evidently clear we come out of the blocks quick at the start of the year in Cage Warriors and getting 4 or 5 fights done, events done in the first 6 weeks once we start, and we do that. And I've always made this a rule in what we're doing. I don't want a fighter sitting on the bench. I don't want a fighter sitting around waiting for fights. And when you come to December and everyone's done, you go into Christmas season, then everyone's fat, and then everybody needs January to sort themselves out. We get into February, we're starting to do shows. Now I've got 300 guys all wanting to fight. Now, if I were to do a fight and an event once a month, some guys won't fight till June. You know what I mean? So we come out of the blocks fast, and I say to everybody at the start of every year, I want 4 or 5 fights done. I want everybody to have a fight before April. Okay? So the reason I'm saying this is because the first event in Dublin, going through to the end of March, that's going to give us the results and the decisions and the ingredients that we need to start planning out the rest of where we're going with title shots. Who's not gone into contention? Who's won? Who's lost? Like, who's gone up? Who's gone down? So the first 4 weeks of what we do, 5 weeks, once we get that first show done, kind of determines the rest of the year, really, because it shows, you know, who's injured, who's not available for the rest of the year, who wants to get back in straight away, who's got a quick finish. There's a lot of things that get thrown up into the air in those 4 or 5 weeks, which kind of gives us a picture for the rest of the year.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about the picture for the rest of the year, you said at the start, obviously, you're looking ahead to the shows coming up in Manchester, London, etc. You also announced an expansion into Spain in 2026 and hoping to kind of get into other cities as well, where, you know, you're not planning on stopping anytime soon. Could you maybe kind of talk to us on what some of the plans are coming into 2026, some of the goals that you want to hit this year?
Yeah, the goal for this year is just to lock Spain. We've had, you know, we've done Italy systemized. It's like London, it's like Manchester, Scotland, Dublin now. Rome is done. So we'll make Spain part of that stable in the next 12 to 18 months. We'll kick off. We'll get 1 in this year, maybe 2 next year. Then we'll move it up to 3 like we did in Italy. The same baby step process. The main thing about going into a territory is you need to have a roster to support that territory and where you go. You can't just rock up to a city or a territory without a roster to support it. And I think that's the mistake a lot of organizations who have come and gone have tried to do. They've, in their own heads, probably believe their brand is bigger than what it is, or their name is bigger than what it is. But the fact is, without the fighters, the brand is absolutely nothing. So I'll build that Spanish roster first. We've put something out a week or 2 ago, just for, you know, the remainders of, you know, contact me. Let me know if you're available. Mm-hmm. You know, coaches, managers, whatever. Just come to me. Let me know. Out of that one thing, we've had a bunch of names, a bunch of gyms who we didn't know existed. Because let's be honest, between us 4 here, you know, the Spanish MMA scene isn't the biggest in Europe. Like, you know, you could probably count on your 2 hands a bunch of guys you can actually work with and develop. And some of them could be contracted elsewhere. So where are the rest of the guys? Where are the rest of these gyms? What are they doing? I'm not there. I don't live there. So we need to find out who these people are. So they're all starting to come out of the woodwork now. And I'm getting contacted by a lot of gyms in Spain. I'm getting contacted by a lot of coaches in Spain, fighters. And a lot of partners, like businesses, have contacted me, offering services, offering all sorts. So all those pieces will go into my flat table. We'll roll them out. We'll write the names down and look at everything, put that together, and start planning it out and get it happening in Spain. So that would be my little side project this year, is to get Spain up and running. And I don't need to tell you guys, when we concentrate on an area, what happens. It's pretty obvious. So I would expect a lot of stuff coming out of Spain over the next 18 months.
100%. Any, obviously very early stages, any dates or any kind of time of the year you're maybe interested in looking to put on cards over there?
As soon as possible.
Perfect.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
I've just got a lot of stuff to work through and filter through at the moment. So I think I've got 14 of 18 shows already dated. So I'll have to figure out where those last 4 are going. And then from there, there could be one in Spain before the summer, or there could be one in the summer. Summer's probably not ideal, due to the majority of Europe wanting to go on holiday in Spain. Prices, flights, hotels, they're all going to be through the roof. So it's either probably going to be before or after.
Yeah.
Graham, it's interesting to hear you say about how it's it's a shame that one lad has to lose between Solomon and Nick, and you're right, because it is it's heartbreaking. But I also feel like that's what made the featherweight division so incredible to watch, when we had the likes of Hughes and Charrier and Vucenic, and albeit they did have to take steps back when they suffered losses, but they've come on since then, and I think it made it electric for a long, long time. You're obviously wearing a number of hats. You talked about developing fighters. I've lost count of I think you guys have stopped posting after 100 or something like that, how many you've gotten to the UFC. But how do you manage the promotion in a way where you're still putting the best against the best while also developing? Because you're putting out a product as a promotion, a standalone promotion that you're drawing eyes to, but you're also kind of shaping these young fighters' careers. How do you balance it? What is your approach to it?
My approach is very simple to this, is they're all ready at different times. And if they don't need to fight each other at certain levels, one guy might be 2 steps higher than the other. They're kind of catching up, or they come down. If they don't need to, and we can avoid it, why do we want them fighting each other? I'll pull the elephant out of the room every day. I manage some of these guys. I look after some of these guys. It's not about that. It's about, at what point is one guy over the other? And is a fight really worth having to see 2 guys, have a fight at a certain point? The issue where you're going to see over the next few years is some of these fights are going to be fights that just can't be avoided. All right? Because the sport is getting too big. And what I mean by that is there's too many guys for every one spot available in the UFC these days. So now we're starting to look at records. And to get into the UFC in 2026, you need to be an entertaining finisher. Having a 10-0 record and 6 of those being decisions ain't going to get you into the UFC. It's the biggest organization in the world. It's an organization that runs on the best fighters in the world who can finish. You can see there's been fighters released recently who have unbelievable records, but they've been caught because, one too many decisions, or they haven't been re-signed. And our thinking on this all the time is, if guys at the top of the chain don't need to fight each other, or if we know that somebody's, potentially going somewhere, we just try and not let those fights happen. And if there's other fights available to them, why do they need to fight each other? There's a lot of guys out there, so if I've got guys who don't need to fight each other, why should I need to? But when you get to a situation where there's a belt on the line, one guy wants it and he doesn't give a shit what the repercussions are, there's nothing you can do about that, whether I'm involved and whether I'm not,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting to hear, because and again, being fully transparent, when I've been looking at the welterweight division, for example, the past while, I've been kind of pulling my hair out, because I'm from my perspective and from an outlook or an onlooker's perspective, we're seeing it's rife with talent. We've got Leon Hill and Adam Darby and Anthony Orozco and a bunch of others, Figlak, Michelis, and you're managing a lot of them, and
Justin,
you're promoting a lot of
Clancy.
them. Justin, and obviously there's an incredible fight, incredible title fight. Yeah, there's an incredible title fight in Scotland coming up in April. But the rest of the division, they just don't seem to be fighting each other. Is that tactically you don't want them fighting each other until they're getting towards the title, or like I'll ask straight up: is it because you're managing them, or like why is it?
No, it's not. It's when they get to the title, all bets are off. When they get to the title, all bets are off. And I'm gonna put this out there as well. Dario, Bellandi, Paddy, McCorry, I managed both. And before this fight happened, I stepped away from managing both. I told them I wanted nothing to do with the fight if I'm managing the pay-per-view. I stepped down. I said, if you want to fight each other, I cannot be involved. And I stepped away. And they both wanted it. And I specifically, and nobody knows this, you're getting this as an exclusive, so you can go and create whatever fucking headline you want with this to get your clickbait. But, I stepped away from this. I said, I cannot, in any kind of moral right, step in here and say, I'm going to manage you both while you fight each other. It's not right. So I said, I spoke to Paddy, I spoke to Dario, and said, you two have done this online by yourselves. You two want this fight. You can have this fight, but under no circumstances am I going to be involved in managing the pay-per-view while you fight each other. It's just not me. Now, there are other managers that have got their guys fighting each other in the UFC. There are managers all over the world who've got their guys fighting each other. Not going to name them, but I can easily, in my head, think of 5 managers whose guys have fought each other on regional shows. I won't do it because there is an ethic involved in what we do. And we do give a shit. So I will not sit here and manage 2 guys who are going to fight each other. I said to them, after the fight, you want my help, come talk to me. But if you want to fight each other and there's no way of me saying to you, you don't need to fight each other or you don't want to listen, then I'm out. And I've stepped down.
For the welterweight division, is it a case of whoever stands out the most? Like we've got, for example, there's Leon and Adam both fighting. You mentioned Leon earlier on, and there's a bunch of other fighters, and you've even got new fighters like Andreas Binder, who he's only new to the promotion, but a 10-2 record, will be looking to make a splash instantly. Is it just a case of who stands out most that is lining themselves up for the next crack at the bell? Because it is a very cluttered division right now, if in a good way. Like there's loads of viable contenders there.
Yeah, it's backlogged. There's a bottleneck there. There's a big bottleneck there. And what comes down to there is there's a lot goes into this that a lot of people don't see or understand. It's kind of who's got too many decisions. Who does a win for this belt even make sense for? Is this person leaving to go to the UFC? Is this person being watched? There's a lot of moving parts. And again, in certain situations, there's nothing you can do about that. But we'll judge each decision and each individual situation as it comes. Right now, and I say this to the team every time anything comes up, whether it's logistics, whether it's flights, whether it's whatever. We fix today's problems today. Tomorrow's problems are tomorrow. If we sit down and start talking about, problems that are 2 months down the line, how the fuck can we concentrate on what we need to do now? It's just not how you run a business. This is a big business. There's 14, 15 full-time staff. On event week, there's up to 100 staff, and that's sometimes every week for 4 weeks. Can't sit down here and talk about what's going to happen in, when's that welterweight fight? April? So
April, yeah.
Yeah. So touch wood, the winner doesn't have any injuries and be back out in 3 months. Whoever's fighting for that belt is, August, September, maybe, or June, sorry. So why do we need to talk about June now? We don't know what's going to happen between now and then. You don't know if every welterweight you just mentioned gets a loss. Which is, it's the sport that can happen. You mentioned 5 welterweights. Yeah. You mentioned 5 welterweights, or maybe 6. Every one of them could pick up a loss between now and then. None of them are in the picture.
Who do you see as the standout one right now? Putting you on the spot here now.
All the hard hit ones are
Johnson my arm here.
Yeah, there's fights coming up over the next 4 weeks that could change everything that we would be talking about right now. And when there's so much happening over the next 4 or 5 weeks, there's not really a lot that you can you can chat about, because everything is a what if. And I'm not a what if guy, man. Let's just get it done, move on, get it done, move on. Today's problem, what have we got? Let's fix it. Tomorrow's problem tomorrow. I'm very...
That's fair enough.
Even with the team in the office, they try and talk to me about stuff that's, 2 months away. It's like, no, we have to prioritize what's today. What's today? Let's finish today. And if we have time at the end of the day, let's talk about other stuff at leisure. But today's problems are today's problems.
Graham, I guess this actually could help solve some of that bottleneck, but the Dana White Contender Series coming into this scene and kind of changing how people get into the UFC, how is that kind of, I don't want to say affected too much, but has it impacted much, considering before people would not, it wouldn't be a promise, it was nearly an expectation. If they won a title, they go to the UFC. Nowadays, it's not even a case of even needing a title. They can have an undefeated record, not even fight for the title, and go to Dana White Contender Series. How does that kind of change things for you guys as a promotion?
I don't think it changes. Yeah, I don't think it changes much for us, to be honest. It's kind of, that belt is a prestigious belt. You can get there without that belt. If you've got, I don't know, you go 8, 9, and 0 and they're all finishes, you don't need that belt at all. If you're, a win, a decision, that belt's going to stand to you a lot, because it shows that you've gone through the mill to get to where you need to get to, and that you are legit. You ain't holding that belt if you ain't legit. You think about how many people in the world have held that belt and how many people are in the sport. It's a very, very small percentage. It's a very prestigious thing to have in your career. As is wearing the yellow gloves. There's not many people who have got those yellow gloves either. And you only get them by being in that octagon. Going to Dana White's Contender Series without having the belt or getting those wins, if anything, it just shows that guys on our show are good enough to be there. Whether they go in through the front door, whether it's Dana White's Contender Series, whether it's tough, they're tested, trialed, and ready when they come out of Cage Warriors. So it doesn't matter, what comes about it, whether they do 2 Dana White's Contender Series a year or whether it's the 1. It doesn't matter to us. Our job is to get these guys ready. Our job is to test them, give them a path, and let them get on with it and make a name for themselves.
I see the event is coming up in Dublin now, and there's been a couple of rumours floating around. Event potentially next one summer, or could you shed any light on that?
Yeah, summer looks good.
Might be raining, but
never know, man. You might get a bit of sunshine. To be fair, I think we've had sunshine every time we've been in Dublin so far.
Yeah.
We could do it after the last 2 weeks, Greg.
Keep coming back.
keep coming. I'll bring it back every time I come back from Dublin. I'm bringing some sunshine in the case, man. I'm bringing it over from San Diego.
That's it, the San Diego sunshine. Graham, we're after massively blowing over time here, but we appreciate the time you're giving. A couple of last questions before we do let you go. Well, one last question maybe. For you, who's the next Cage Warrior star? Look, you've helped to grow many stars through Cage Warriors, bring them over to the UFC. Look, Paddy put on a fantastic fight against Justin Gaethje at the start of the year. Obviously, he is a big success story coming out of Cage Warriors, along with many others as well. To you, who's the next one? Who's the next one we should be keeping an eye on that's going to make some great waves moving over to the UFC?
There's a few, man. I think there's a few names you can keep your eyes on. I mean, I think Bagley and Solomon, I think either one of them is going to go on to big things. Clancy, if he can get past Justin Burlington, I think is going to be something good. You've got, the younger lads coming through the organization, Max, Keith, they're there, Jar Harris gets a little run together. He's got all the package there to do some big things, and you'll probably see some stuff out of him this year. There's a lot of guys coming through, and to pick any one name, I just couldn't do it. It's more a case of picking a basket of guys who I think can go on, because these guys they're going through fight after fight after fight, and even though you may think they're the next one loss and they're 3 fights back. Yeah. So it's more a case of who's the basket of guys that we think are going to run through.
For sure, and we definitely got a good basket of guys there as well. A good basket of Irish guys in particular. Obviously, our focus is on Irish mixed martial arts. And I lied. I'll ask one last quick one for you. You played a major part in the growth of Irish mixed martial arts in the country of Ireland. Right now, we focus our attention obviously on the happenings and the events that are happening. And, the south of Ireland is in particular hurting a lot in terms of events. A lot of barriers, a lot of barricades being put up to prevent, regional shows from happening. And, which makes shows like Cage Warriors, and when you do come to Ireland, even more important, because you provide a platform for up-and-coming fighters to be able to fight in these high-level fights, to get that big fight experience as well. What's your current feelings on the current state of Irish mixed martial arts, and maybe some of the difficulties that smaller shows are having? And obviously we're at dead end really, Graham, to be honest, with terms of getting the sport recognised and in the country as well. I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are on all of that kind of stuff in 2026.
We're not the only country struggling to get the sport recognised. There's a lot of countries that are in the same scenario. I can only comment on what I can see in Cage Warriors on the Irish side. And from a Cage Warriors point of view, the Irish side of the sport for us is the second coming. We've got an Irish roster at the moment that, all going well, half that roster is going to be in the UFC within the next 2 years. So what's going on outside Cage Warriors, I can't comment too much because I'm not across it. There's only so much MMA I can consume. And I'm not involved in just MMA as a business. I've got businesses in other industries that take up quite a lot of my time as well. But from the consumption of MMA that I do, which is a lot of Cage Warrior stuff, from the Irish side for us, it could not be bigger, better, and more positive in terms of the Irish roster that we have and we're working on right now. I believe the future Irish stars of the UFC are literally coming true, and they're not far away from that radar.
100%. And many of them will be on show this coming weekend. RDS Arena, Cage Warriors 200, absolutely massive event. We're buzzing for it. Everybody else should be buzzing for it as well. Graham, appreciate the time as always. It's our 100th episode today, so we're absolutely delighted to have you on.
Congratulations.
Our 100 and your 200 events. So, we're very delighted to have you on to speak about the card, and thank you very much for the time, and we look forward to hopefully talking to you again down the line.
Anytime, fellas. Don't be strangers. I'll see you Saturday night if you're there. Well, you're in Canada, so I won't see you. But if you're boys there, I'll see you.
Send a private jet.
We'll be there.
I'll come over.
I will. Take care, fellas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Graham. Thanks.
All right, boys. Nice to hear from Boylan there. Lots of exciting things and bigging up that card as well. Cage Warriors is planning for a big year in 2026 and will ride on. And I think this is a kind of a perfect milestone for them to kind of get started. A huge, huge night of mixed martial arts in the RDS Arena on Saturday, February 21st, headlined by Solomon Simon and Nick Bagley. I said it in the interview, I'll say it again. To me, one of the biggest, if not the biggest fight that Cage Warriors can put on at this current moment. And I'm super excited for this fight, Andy, and I know that you're massively excited. You're going to be able to take it all in, experience the atmosphere, and I think, what we have to build up to this fight is extraordinary, and this fight is going to be fantastic. It's kind of a fight that it's almost guaranteed to deliver.
I agree, and I think that, as you said to Graham, like the fact that we had been, people were calling for this fight for a while, and then it gets made and it falls through, because it was previously supposed to be on the Dublin card last time. And now we get it. We get, Solomon with the belt. He has his moment, where then they bring in Bagley into the cage. They have that from a pre-fight build-up thing, the whole let's get smoky thing. And now we get the fight, and I can't wait. And it's perfect that it's on Cage Warriors 200. And especially, you know what, like we said with Graham, that featherweight division is the most storied division in Cage Warriors history, from Conor McGregor to Paddy Pimblett to Hughes, Vucenic, Charrier, and now we get this huge fight between Bagley and between Simon and Bagley. I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be an absolute barn burner. Both lads are so dangerous, and it's one where it could go either way. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but it's a quality fight, and I can't wait.
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit, Caoilte. I mean, the styles that both of these guys bring into the cage are one, to me, that makes a very exciting fight. Obviously, Solomon has gone out there, finished all of his fights. Nick Bagley likes to go out there, put on a pace, get, grind on his opponents and get that finish as well. And, look at it's a classic cliche, styles make fights. And the styles that are coming into this fight, Solomon is obviously going to want to keep this fight on their feet. I think Nick Bagley is going to want to try and close the distance to get Sol down to the mat as well. It'll be very curious. I'm very curious to see, whose style will be the most dominant on the night. Will Sol be able to kind of keep this fight on the feet? Bagley does have power as well, it has to be said. Just wondering how you stylistically break this one down.
Yeah, I think typically, as everyone will see it, you're looking at Nick Bagley, and he is more than likely. You're thinking he's just going to be going in, trying to get the fight down, get that single leg, double leg, and try and just grind out a win or find an opening for a submission and finish it that way. But then you'll have Solomon on the feet, who'll have the power. But I don't think it's that simple. It never really is, to be honest. I think if you look at Solomon, you can't look past his wrestling. We've seen it all the way through amateur. He was a very, very strong wrestler from early days. His jiu-jitsu is very good. And I think people forget that because of his power. Like, he's just taken over because he's doing these highlight reel knockouts, buzzer beaters, so on and so forth. And I think this is going to be very close, almost wherever it goes, because both of them are at such a high level and both of them are so well-rounded. I do think Bagley's probably going to have to rely on that grappling a little bit. That's where his strengths lie in this fight. But it could, I think it could play out in numerous different ways. But like I said there, it's, Bagley will have the advantages in the grappling. They're his strengths. Maybe Sol has more, I think he's better power, maybe more precise striking and picking his shots a lot better than Bagley would on the feet. How I think this goes past the 3 rounds. I think it will come down to those 4th and 5th round and who can dig deeper. I think they're both so well matched that it will come down to those 2 rounds, and that's where we will see their character, their engine, everything come out. And I think that's that'll be the decider, I think.
Yeah, big time. Look, in terms of performances and level of performances, Andy, that we've seen from both guys, Bagley looked very impressive en route to his unanimous decision win over Queenie Lopez in his last fight. Solomon Simon picked up the title, obviously, in his last fight as well. But, we expressed some level of doubts over his performance as well. We'll talk to Andy Ryan about that too. He expressed it as well. We're going to have to see a better version than Sol. And it's strange to say after picking up a title, but this is kind of the thoughts that I would have. I'm sure you would have heading into this fight too. And I think any doubts that we may have had over that, I kind of lessened in the last episode that we had when we spoke to Solomon. You could see the intensity. You could see how much he really wants this opportunity. All of those factors are going to make this a fantastic fight.
Yeah, there are questions, I suppose, coming in here. Like, as we'll hear from, as you're listening, we will have Andy Ryan on later on, and he kind of touches on this too. If the Solomon that shows up, in Dublin this week is the same one as last time, I think that's, he could be in danger here. When I look at this fight, I see Bagley does what Bagley does, and that's he's got big power, but he kind of swings wildly, and he comes out pretty much most fights looking to push the pace very quickly, push his opponent back. He uses his strikes more so as a decoy to get in and get the takedown. And one thing that I did notice that Solomon said to us on our last episode last week was that, he was kind of coming at with the mentality of he knows he's going to get taken down, but when he gets taken down, he's going to be hitting him with elbows and he's going to be hurting him and this and that. And while that sounds great, I don't know, as an outsider looking in, if that's the greatest game plan. I think when we've seen Bagley, the one fight that he's lost in his career was against Ben Ellis. And what Ben Ellis did is he created space to allow himself to immediately get back up. Every other fighter, Bagley is phenomenal at keeping them on their back. And then what he essentially does is he lies on top, not lies on top, he spends time in top control and he waits for you to make a mistake. And once you do, he is clinical at transitioning to whatever the next position is. He doesn't chase for the finish. He lets it come to him. And I think that what Ben Ellis did, albeit much earlier in Bagley's career, is he ensured the fight was on the feet. And where Solomon's strength lies is the likes of the performance he had against Walter Cogliandro, where he was completely dominating the range management. The fight was played on his pace, at his range. He used his footwork very well, and he systematically dismantled an opponent who was much more experienced than him. And I would be surprised here if either fighter gets finished. I think this has gone 5 rounds, and I think that what Solomon needs to do to win here is to start pushing Bagley back, getting the jab in his face, touching him up, not searching for a finish, but just hurting him and slowly breaking him down. And if he can do that, I think he walks away with the title. But it's a real 50-50 matchup, and I guess for those reasons, it's a phenomenal one to kind of get excited for, because I think both lads really do, like, if Bagley can get him on his back and Solomon is happy to kind of be on his back and try throw strikes from there, I think that plays directly into Bagley's hands, and I think it could be a long night if that's the case. But I think Solomon can do it. I think he can, if he fights the right fight, I think he walks away with the title.
Yeah, it's very interesting points, and very correct points there as well. I would tend to agree that this is kind of a close fight in terms of whoever style can be implemented here. Obviously, Bagley, he's a wild man moving forward, moves forward with ferocious kind of pace, but I can also leave him open as well. And I think, patience is going to be very important in this fight. It's the patience for Bagley to find those entries in to try and get Saul down. It's also going to be patience from Saul to try, maybe use that against Bagley in this fight. Saul has got some big power. I think if he gets his timing and his distance and he can keep his back off the cage here, that, there's a chance here that he could catch Nick Bagley coming in. And, is it a thing? If he catches him early, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to finish the fight, because, Bagley's a tough cookie too. He's not going to be put out of there easy. So I could see this going all 5 rounds as well. I think if a finish is going to come, with all honesty, I think it would come from Saul's side, because I think he does have the difference maker in the power if he can utilize that early. And, there's nothing said that if Bagley does come forward and catches a shot early, where he might have to fight a little bit more on the outside, which could prolong this fight maybe more than Saul would want. That's where the patience is going to have to come in for Saul to try and be patient on the feet, find those shots. And, it's just a super fight overall. I really, really can't wait. As is the co-main event too, lads. Look at, Paddy McCorry was on with us last week as well, and he's very determined to become the Cage Warriors middleweight champion. It would be his first world title. He's tasted somewhat of the highs of highs so far in his career over there in Dana White's Contender Series, also on the Ultimate Fighter too. So he's got that big fight experience. He knows how to fight when there's a little bit of extra pressure on him as well. And, there is some pressure on him coming in against Dario Bellandi here. And I think, Bellandi Caoilte is sneaky good. I think, for Paddy, I think similar enough in the co-main or main event, I think he'll probably want this fight to play out on the feet a little bit, but he's also comfortable in the jiu-jitsu and wrestling exchanges as well. But Bellandi is a guy who can just pull a win out of nowhere. I think he was mighty impressive in his win over Daniel Carlson and a couple of other ones over there where you see him getting that rear naked choke. He's very good on the ground. He's very good standing as well. He's just a good, solid, well-rounded fighter, as is Paddy McCorry. And that, that makes this a fantastic fight as well for the middleweight championship.
It does. I think Bellandi is an interesting one. It's deceptively so good because it may not look the part, it may not look as clean from the striking, everything, but he always finds a way. It's so intriguing. I feel like it's almost, if it was a different time, he'd already be in the UFC, like defend that title 3 times. But very good. I think he's going to try close that distance, get it down, and stay away from those long limbs of Paddy McCorry, which he utilizes to perfection. Those knees, I think those knees from Paddy could be key in certain moments as well when Dario Bellandi's trying to get up against the cage or trying to initiate the grappling. So it's a fascinating fight because both of them so well rounded. And what I think we're going to see a different Paddy this time. That's the other thing. Just from listening to him the last week and some how he's changed, maybe how his mindset is now, how he's made some certain lifestyle changes as well, I think we're going to see a different Paddy McCorry that could be a lot more clinical, one that will be on the feet, looking for the finish, and because I think both of them really want this chance. They both want to go to the UFC, and they need a finish.
Graham said that too. Graham said that they both do need a finish coming into this one, Andy, and I think it's definitely the style of fight that you would expect to see a finish in the way both of these guys fight. I think a couple of key factors for me coming in here real quickly before I send it over to you: distance control from Paddy. Using that jab, and also the speed advantage that Paddy is going to have in here. I think Paddy is going to be the quicker of the two, and he needs to use that speed and explosiveness in the right way. That explosiveness could maybe come back to haunt you a little bit if you're too quick rushing in, or you throw a few flying knees, you might end up getting put on your back, which you don't want here against Bellandi. But I'm just curious as to what you think. And how you feel this fight is going to play out.
I couldn't agree more with you on the speed point, and whatever about Boylan saying it, Paddy has said to us himself that he needs a finisher. He needs to go out and prove a point here. And I agree with everything, pretty much everything that both of you have said. I kind of see Bellandi as almost like a Cage Warriors version of Sean Strickland, political fucking insane beliefs aside, but from a stylistic perspective, just this guy who maybe he's different to Strickland, but on the feet more so. He puts a pressure on. He is good everywhere, but he's not really great at anything, is how I would kind of describe him. However, he finds a way to win. He has a great gas tank. He's durable, and he just kind of wears fighters down. And I think that he's obviously bona fide champion. He's defended the belt twice. But like what you said, Ian, about the speed, I just feel like Paddy is Paddy can fight on the feet. Paddy can fight on the ground, as can Bellandi. I feel like Paddy is just kind of a better version of Bellandi everywhere, if I'm honest with you. I think that he is quicker. I think that his techniques are much crisper, much sharper. I feel like albeit I think Bellandi does a great job of using his footwork and circling out of danger and things like that. But I don't know if he'll be able to do that against McCorry, if I'm honest. And I think that Paddy, what he has shown, albeit we were having all these conversations around, he's not getting the finish, he's maybe holding back, all this type of stuff. What he did show in his last number of fights was a very impressive ability to completely dictate where the fight's going, how he wants to fight it, what range he wants to stay at, and avoiding the danger. And I think that all of those things combined with this new kind of mentality and what will be very interesting to see is how does he hold up for 5 rounds, because we've seen Bellandi do it multiple times. We haven't seen Paddy go the 5 rounds just yet. He's obviously locked in. He's talked to us about his working with a new nutritionist and giving up weed and all that stuff, which is great to hear. And he will need that going in here. If he hasn't got him out by, say, the second round, that's when Bellandi starts to gear up as well. So I think it's Paddy McCorry's fight for the taking, albeit against an incredibly difficult and awkward opponent to deal with. But I just think, skill for skill, McCorry is better in every area, in my opinion.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's fantastic co-main event, fantastic main event. Andy, I'll stick with you to talk about maybe the welterweight title picture. Your favorite topic in Cage Warriors right now.
The only thing I talk about.
Leon Hill, Adam Darby. Leon Hill goes out there, takes on Aldo Pereira. Adam Darby going out there to take on Thiago Habib and Ireland. 2 Ireland versus Brazil affairs here. Big fights for both guys are right in the welterweight title picture here now as well. And, I'd be surprised, and based off our conversation with Graham as well, if one of the two, and maybe looking more towards Leon Hill, and probably if he goes out there and gets another impressive win, could be catapulted to take on the winner of Clancy Jr. and Burlinson, which is happening in April. Big fights for the welterweight division here on Cage Warriors 200 as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got opponents here who none of us really know or are that familiar with. Aldo Pereira, Thiago Habib. I know multiple changes in opponents as well here. I think this is really about who's going to stand out. There's opportunities here to stand out. Leon Hill had a phenomenal performance last time out, gets the first round finish, gets a moment where he's, embraced by the crowd. He's on the shoulders, he's celebrating. it's stuff like that that will set you apart now in the welterweight division, because we haven't seen these, you know, contenders going in against each other. And I think especially on a card like this, it's a big opportunity to stand out. Cage Warriors 200, there'll be more eyes on this card than the vast majority of Cage Warriors cards, and it's there for the taking as to, you know, who can do something special. By the sounds of it, you know, you guys will hear later on from Andy Ryan. You know, maybe there's not as much of a rush for Adam Darby. It sounds like Adam Darby's in a rush, but maybe, you know, those around him aren't in as much of a rush. And I don't want to start spoiling the interview, but you can listen to that later on. But I think the fact that Graham Boylan has singled out Leon in the interview we just did with him as, you know, one to keep an eye on here, I think they're probably earmarking him. He's already headlined in Dublin. He's, you know, third from the top. We have the updated card here. It's slightly different to what's on the Cage Warriors website as of today. You've got the top two fights are the title fights, and then it's Leon Hill versus Aldo Pereira. So I think if Leon Hill can go out here, put on a big performance, I think he puts himself first in line for the next crack of the title. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. And you know, it adds that extra meaning to that fight and the importance of that fight as well. Caoilte in the flyweight division, Jared Harris takes on Tano Pagliaricio. Featherweight division, we have Max Lally, one of the leading prospects in Irish mixed martial arts right now as well, which will kind of, you know, a good solid fight for him against Alexander Jr. Thoughts on those two fights, and as we kind of finish up our analysis on the main card before we head over and talk to Andy Ryan.
Yeah, the Jared Harris one, that's, you know, top notch fight. Tanyo is has some legit wins there. He's on a one fight win streak, but he's got been in Cage Warriors 4, fought some tough guys. Tough fight for Jer. I think Jer's kind of turned the corner now, as we spoke to Andy about, and I think if he can come out and put on a similar level performance like he did against Johnny Tuma, then he is within his right to be calling for a title shot. As for Max Lally, to be honest, I haven't a clue who the opponent is. Like a lot of these kind of late notice opponents, or I'm not too sure what way to put it. I'm not sure if they're late notice or not. We're not too sure who a lot of them are, but I do know Max Lally, and look, when you're up against someone who's not as well known, you're not sure what you're going to get. So who knows what he's going to come up against. But for Max, I think the important thing here is to build upon that performance against Ben Ellis. You know, that was a tough, grueling matchup that he was probably losing until he put that, was it like a 3-piece combo together at the end? That was huge. So it's about just building from that now. And look, this is the fight for it. So we'll see what the opponent can offer. I think the kind of, sometimes the beauty in these fights with these fighters that we don't know much about is some of them could be an absolute gem that brings out the best. Forgive me, I forget the name. Who's the guy that came in for the title, won, and then we haven't seen him.
Silva.
Yeah, he's fighting. Yeah, he's fighting.
Yeah.
Is he fighting?
He's fighting Ali Sarwa, is that his name?
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah. So, he was class. Yeah, you could get you're spot on though. You never know what you're going to get with these type of fighters as well, coming over from Brazil. Yeah, the old Brazil.
I got that way wrong, by the way. Ali Sarwa's a bantamweight.
Yeah. Who is he fighting?
Who's he fighting?
Hang on, I googled Ali Sarwa. oh, sorry, Kraken fight. O'Meal Brown.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic!
I knew it was something familiar, but I wasn't confident enough, or didn't know to correct you there.
I love O'Meal Brown fight.
You love it. Yeah. That'll be a belter. That will be a belter.
Just throws bombs.
Yeah, but that's the main card breakdown. Look, obviously Team Ryano have a major role. Obviously, a fighter in the main event and lots of fighters on the undercard as well. So no better man to talk to, only Andy Ryan, about those fights, about the card, and obviously, Team Ryano celebrating 20-year anniversary in 2025 as well. I'm going to hand it right over to Caoilte Barra now. He's going to kick off that interview with Andy Ryan. We'll be right back to discuss the Cage Warriors 200 prelims.
For our 100th episode, we had to bring back the man who joined us for the very first one and took the chance to actually speak to us back then. Team Ryano head coach, and most recently, we can now call him Iron Man. Andy That's Ryan, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Don't feel like an Iron Man.
No, after what is it? It's a crazy distance that I can't even.
Yeah, so 3.8k swim, 180-kilometer bike, and then a marathon. Then.
Jesus Christ!
You must be fitter than half the gym, surely.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm actually. I don't feel as fit as half. No, it's a different type of fitness. It's more of it in the mind as well. To be honest with you, like I was 110 kilos, 52 years of age, doing it. You know, and probably 30, 40 kilos on most of them. So I just wanted to do it to prove that I still had that little bit of a little bit of drive.
Bit of fighting, you show the rest of them up if they don't do their runs before training, type of thing.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Where's your what's your where do you thrive the most? Do you the cycle and the swim, or the run?
None of them, shiting them all. No, I'm not bad at the cycling. But I'm sort of, I just potter through everything.
Jeez, you're a man full of activity, Andy. Like, for sure, over the years now, like, you know, you've set up the gym, you've had the judo, you've been training some of the best fighters in Ireland. You're now doing all this, but I guess with the gym specifically, like, I know recently you celebrate that 20th anniversary last year, so a massive milestone. But like, looking back on all those years and all the people have come through the gym, how do you reflect on all that?
Yeah, I used to get very sort of caught up in if some of the gym was doing great, or we were doing bad, or we were doing great, you know, caught up in all that type of stuff. And then I look and say, from looking back sort of the last 25 years, we were 5 years of messing about, and then 20 years full time, that you have your ups and downs. So I see people come, I see people go, I see different waves coming through. And I see when a gym, or even like goes when we did really well, you know, say 10 years ago, think you were the dog's bollocks, and then it goes shit for a year or two. So it's probably, I'm a little bit more relaxed with the likes of that. And I still get very emotional, involved with a lot of the fighters. Some people say it's a bad thing. I don't think it is. You know, you got to care about them. So that will never change. But that roller coaster over the last 20 years. I hope to do another 20 years of that, you know.
I guess when you're taking over something like that, and, you know, you're overlooking it and seeing it grow, like, from where you first began with it, how big has it gotten for you, like, from day one? Like,
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Sure, I was at that kids' jiu-jitsu competition today, and the place was jammed, you know. So I'm cornering next week for a world title, you know, on a big show that's going to be on Fight Pass. And then Sunday morning, I'm down the sports hall with the kids. So, it's even though it does grow, you still got to keep yourself grounded. You got to keep yourself involved, you know. But it is crazy where it has come, and where it's going. I suppose, you know, it is crazy.
You mentioned, obviously, you know, you're going to be keeping humble going to that kids competition next weekend after Cage Warriors 200, the big one that's coming back to Ireland. But like Cage Warriors, it's, you know, gearing up for it now, as Cage Warriors played such a massive role in Irish MMA, and both for the gym itself. Like, over the years, you've had Red Siri, now you've got the likes of Solomon, James Streeton, and a bunch of the rest of them coming through. But
we've always had a good crowd coming through.
You've like, you're looking at that, like, what, you know, there's loads of moments left to come, but out of, you know, looking back, what's been the highlights for you?
Well, I think Siri winning the world title for me, because it was the first ever flyweight title. Plus, he was the sort of number one, number two in Europe, and because of the age, he wasn't really getting the look in. And then to prove it there and then that night, that, you know, in the Helix, which was an unbelievable venue, a tiny venue, and the atmosphere, Irish MMA, Cattle Panther, Conor McGregor, all them winning titles around that time, and, you know, it was great. It was great, and for me, that's probably the number one. And then all the kids and all the guys doing well in the IMAFs over the years as well. That like, for me, that's a great one. We're a small country, and yet we can go out and compete with the big guns. You know what I mean? So if we can see the amateurs doing that, you know, that's I think where the future is, and that's what I like to see. But yeah, it's mad.
Do you ever envisage, kind of back when Siri was coming through, that he'd go all the way to the UFC and end up fighting the likes of, I guess, the one that comes to mind, Horiguchi in Rotterdam, and so one of the biggest names in the sport. Like, it's mad.
When Siri lost that fight, he apologised to me, and when we were to go to the hospital after to get a checkup, and I said, apologise for what? It was a great fight, you know. Like, people forget Neil was, you know, in work then, a load of bleeding kids, and he hadn't got that time. I think if Siri had been in the UFC 2 years before he got in, I think he could have had a run at the title, 100%.
You've got more lads now coming through that may want to fight for the title, may want a title run if they get through to the UFC. Do you know Solomon Simons defend his belt this weekend? James Sheehan's previously held the belt, and then you've got the likes of Derby, and then the other lads coming through as well. But I guess looking ahead at this weekend, do you know, start with Solomon. Like, do you know, it's a massive test. You see him in the gym coming up from Waterford, constantly working in Dublin.
Yeah.
What do you think of that fight? Hardest one to date, surely?
Hardest one to date, yeah. If the Solomon that was in London turns up, he won't be winning the belt. He won't be defending the belt. If the Solomon that we know turns up, yeah, no problem. It's going to be a tough fight. Solomon for the title fight, I told him that because he was meant to fight in Dublin, and then a week out that fight gets pulled, and he kept training. I told him he'd take a couple of weeks off, so we did camps back to back, and we seen a 50% Solomon in London. And he still pulled it out of the bag, so I have to give him that, you know. But I do think for Bagley, yeah, he's got to be 100% switched on and ready for a war, 5-round war, you know.
When we spoke with Solomon last week, we all came out of it feeling like we could run through a brick wall. I've not seen him like that in terms of how locked in he is for a fight. From looking at him in the gym, what's he like now, and in the build up to this for you? Has something changed nearly coming up to it?
Well, even for the last fight, and especially this fight, I got to watch him with his sparring partners because he just touches guys and their legs are wobbling, you know. So Solomon is in a position where there's not too many guys in my gym at 66 that can take his power. So nearly a lot of the time he's throwing in with Darby and some of the bigger guys for the power, you know, because he has some power in them hands. Lewis and stuff gives him a hard time, but it's just a little bit of the power. But he's able to control it, which is a great thing with Solomon. Solomon's not one of those guys that comes in and tries to break people up. He's very technical, and, you know, he knows what to do. So, yeah, he's very, very switched on. It's very switched on. It's something that Bobby and me saying as an amateur, that he didn't sort of believe in himself a little bit as an amateur, and now as a professional, I think every fight he's getting bigger. He's grown into himself, you know. So, yeah, he's the real deal.
Andy, when we were speaking with him, he just seemed very, very intense, like more intense than we had ever seen him. He was talking about how he really wanted to go in here and hurt Nick Bagley. Have you noticed a shift in, like, on an emotional or psychological level? Like, do you notice anything different with him this camp? He seems to be much more, he's tempered, but he's aggressive when he wants to be, I guess.
Yeah, I think he knows that, like, the age he's at and what he's done and being the champion, and, you know, I think he wants that call for the UFC, or he wants a little bit more recognition. So I think that sort of fired him up a little bit as well. So he is more switched on, I will give you that. But he's like that all the time. He's just a little bit more... Yeah, he's a little bit more... Yeah, you can see the killer instinct in his eye, really. Yeah.
What do you expect from the fight with Bagley? Because we spoke with Solomon, he expects, you know, that Bagley might stand with him for a while, but...
No, I think
taking him down is probably
what... I think Bagley will do what he usually does. He'll pressure him, put him on the cage, look to take you down, or he's a very good double, very good shoot on him. That could be sometimes Solomon's downfall. Sometimes he lets people take him down. He's comfortable enough on the ground. But Solomon's a good jiu-jitsu player. People forget that, you know. He's a brown belt. He's a good jiu-jitsu player. But I see this being a tough fight. I think Solomon has just got to pick him off. He can't afford to let Bagley lie on him and drag on him and take his back, you know. So he's got to get them hands forward, and he's got to work his wrestling good, and he's got to have good jiu-jitsu. He's got to be 100% on the night, be honest with you.
For sure. Look, and moving down the card then, obviously Adam Darby, another new opponent. Again, it's becoming a bit of a trend in terms of opponents coming in nearly late enough to fight night. Is it difficult to match him, or do you have any...
Yeah, it is difficult to match him. Yeah, it is difficult to match him. We've asked for loads of people, and they all refuse him, and everyone they send, like Ian goes out of his way to get people. Like, Ian had someone else lined up before this, had everything done, and then all of a sudden the guy just went missing. The guy actually had a decent record, and he was a tough fight and coming off a win, and we thought, lovely, this is a tough fight. It's another Brazilian, but it was a tough one. And then he just went missing last week. There was no word from him, so he went out of his way to get someone. I will say he does. I say his heart was broke for this show, because I think it was 4 or 5 people had to be rematched, you know. But it seems to be a thing with Darby. getting him a fight is the hard part. Yeah, especially when you look at these fights. I watched these fight there from the last one, and that guy he fought was the real deal. He was tough. He was strong. Really, really good jiu-jitsu, and Darby lit him up. You
said you asked for people, and they said no. It's is there any kind of significant ones that stand out in terms of that surprised you that said no?
No, nothing really surprised me because I can see why. It's so I get offered fights as well for Darby, or Darby asks me. I wouldn't say get offered. Asks me to get certain fights from. I tell him no, because if it's a title contender or it's a title shot, no problem. But I'm not taking a big tough fight for the sake of just being on the card and an undercard. If it means something, yeah, we'd take it. So Darby wants to fight everybody. Everybody on that welterweight list, Darby's asked me to try and get him. Get me in. If someone pulls out that title fight, get me in the standby. If someone he wants to fight. He's crazy like that.
There's a good few Irish gone in.
No, I was just going to say, like, there's a few Irish contenders, obviously Leon Hill and a little bit of a backlog now in the welterweight division, Andy, especially at the top in Cage Warriors as well. And obviously Adam is coming in as the emerging prospect of the year for us in 2025, and he won fantastic showings last year. Do you think, I'll ask you straight out, do you think he deserves like a shot at the title, at least a number one contendership fight?
I think I wouldn't be in a rush too much for Adam. I think the more I look at it, like, if you want to get to the UFC, what is it like? What do you have to do? There's Graham Assault won the belt. He didn't go to the UFC, and what is it? So I think the greens, they want to see good greens, the win marks on your record. So a couple of more fights. If a title fight did come up, we would take it. I think Adam is ready, but we're not in a rush. Like, we're in a rush with certain guys for age reasons. Solomon was, turning 30 and stuff. We needed to push that. I made that mistake with Reds a long time ago, jumping in with the UFC, and it wasn't the right time. I think he could have gone a lot further than he did. I think we should have waited and chasing the Cage Warriors title at the time then, which is, I'm not taking that away from the title now, but I think back then it meant a little bit more, European MMA was a bit different. But I think if a title fight come up, we would take it. But I would be happy with him having another fight this year and then a title fight.
How do you feel that Dana White Contender Series is affecting you as a coach in terms of, you talk about fighters getting ready in your gym, right? Yeah. And I think what you said there about Cage Warriors was exactly right, is that you build yourself up for a title shot. Yeah. You even defend the title a couple of times, and it's what gets you ready to be going to the UFC and doing well. The Dana White's Contender Series now is dangling a lot of apples over fighters. They see the chance, and it's easy for us to say if it's too soon or not. When you get that opportunity, it's very hard to turn it down too. Is it difficult for you as a coach to try and guide your fighters now with that kind of opportunity in Dana White's Contender Series? Like, with Adam, would you prefer him to go win the title and then make the jump, or what would be?
I think it depends on the fighter. Depends on the fighter and depends on the age. Some of the younger lads could jump in there, Contender Series, get in or not get in, and go back to Cage Warriors and win 3 or 4 fights, and they're back at it. I think James Sheen was very unlucky. I think after he won his title fight, like Burleson's a great guy and he's a great champion, but James threw that fight away. He had dropped him, could have finished him, broke his jaw. That was the really reason he lost the fight. But not taking out Anthony Burleson, he's a great champion. But I think James had a win in that. He would have gone to Contenders. I would have liked to see him going straight to the UFC. Look at the fights he's had. So with Darby, I think he's ready for Contenders. I think if a Contenders come up, take it. Yeah, why not? He's young enough, and I think he's good enough. He has that little bit of a killer instinct in him. I was overly impressed with him at the last one, the warm up and backstage. Them 2 years in America, the lads did a great job with him over there, I have to say. Mark and Jake, they're doing a great job. He had that little bit of professionalism and a little bit of that, I'm not going to say superstar, but very much, a high-level athlete. And I was looking at him backstage and I said, fuck me. And I was worried then he might drop that little bit when he was home, but he hasn't. If anything, it's rubbed off on the other guys.
You mentioned James there. Is there any update on James and what's happening there?
So James is riddled with injuries. I actually want James to come back and fight a middleweight. I think the welterweight is killing him. He's a lot of injuries, so he was going to come back. He busted his 2 fingers sparring with Derby, so his hand is all swollen. He's in a family business where he's taking a bigger role in the business. Plus, he's bought a house that needs loads of renovation, and he's been sitting on it. So I think we've talked with all the injuries he's had. We said, listen, the first 6 months this year, go and do them, let the body recover, and we look to go at the end of the second half of the year. And I'm trying to get him to go 84 kilos middleweight. He's still looking at welterweight, and I'm saying to him, look, you're a big lad, you're a little bit older, you're strong, you're walking around in the 90s, 94, 95 kilos. Let's give 84 a go. I think he's good enough for 84 kilos. He's some power. So I think he needs a little bit of a break. Like a broken jaw, torn elbow. I think he's a tendon or something from the last fight. So it's a lot. He'd a broken hand before that. He'd staffed 2 or 3 times in a row. He'd a broken ankle. So he's a lot of injuries. So I think he does need a little break.
A man with no luck whatsoever. But speaking of someone who's turned their luck around, then is Ger Harris. He's on the card coming up at the Cage Warriors 200. How do you see that fight going for Ger coming up? And what does that mean for him?
Yeah, Ger's looking really, really good, really sharp. He has that little belief in him. I think he wins this fight. It's a tough fight, but I think he wins it like the last fight. His 2 losses, for me, I say it to now, I wouldn't say a problem with. So a lot of lads go to Thailand, and that's great to go over to train, but they end up partying half the time as well. I know there's a couple of lads. I see Max out there is having a great time, was training hard, but I know there is 1 or 2 lads, and I think when Jer was out there before his fights, he was training hard all right, but he was also bleeding partying hard. He won't tell you that, but I know he was, because when he
told us.
He told us
in detail.
Yeah, because his fitness level, I went mad, because when he come back, I think he picked up a bit of a virus, because when he come back, what would happen was, even weeks being back, he'd get to the 3-minute mark in training and he'd just burn out. He'd have no energy. He wouldn't be able to do anything. And that was something he brought back when he was a little bit sick. So that, for me, ruined his fight in London that time with the guy from Brad Pickett's gym. So I think that was a close fight. I think it was a split decision, was it? Not too sure. I think it was a split decision. Yeah. Anyway, that's a fight he should have won. And that trip to Thailand knocked the fuck out of that. And then his fight in Dublin against that tough Brazilian who was actually good. I actually talking to a guy in America that knows him and said no, he would fight him in some of the smaller shows there. Jer's problem was Jer was trying to get the $5,000 and he was trying to do fucking stupid stuff for the crowd instead of going in and sticking to the game plan. Boxing, kill the takedowns, good wrestling, boxing, good wrestling, boxing. That was the game plan. He started looking for spinning elbows or flashy kicks on a tough motherfucker, So I think I've knocked that into his head now. He's had a good training camp. He's been over in a spur in Liverpool. He's been doing a bit with us. So he seems to be switched on.
I think the last fight, you could see the difference between the 2 before in particular. And he looks like he's on that path now. But do you reckon, the flyweight division's not that big? Surely, maybe how many fights do you think until he can get a title shot?
Well, I think Giovanni's, that's the kid's name, isn't it? He lost his last title fight and now he's fighting for another title fight. So I think after this fight, wins this fight, he should be back up there.
I agree.
Sure. I think he was unlucky in those 2 fights. So it's not as if he went out and got fucking murdered or knocked out, you know what I mean? So I think win this fight and then we should be calling for a title fight. And I can see Jer getting, contenders near the end of the year probably, or if something come up, I always say to lads, be ready. If something comes up, someone's injured or anything, jump on that. If a UFC or something comes up, tell Boylan, tell Graham, you're waiting, you're ready to go,
Another one then is Lewis Byrne against Dylan Logan, all-Irish matchup. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like the idea of the all-Irish matchups? It's kind of a bit of a throwback, that I find.
Well, you have to, don't you? Like, they can't bleeding, like, try and put 20 Irish lads on and bring 20 people in. You're not going to be able to do it, you know? I think the Irish lads should be expected to fight each other. I can understand not putting two top guys together. Like that time we put James and Ian Garry was probably the wrong thing. You know, I think if you see two really good guys coming up, maybe hold them back from each other a little bit. Leon Hill, Derby is a fine example. There's plenty of other people in the division. Even though Derby's looking to fight Leon. I said, there's no big panic there. But I think... for Lewis, and Lewis is only starting, and Dylan's only coming back into scene. Dylan's very experienced, he's very dangerous, but Lewis wants to prove something, you know. And Lewis he's a gentleman. He's too bleeding nice sometimes. Like, he's a townie, he's an inner city headbanger, but he's a posh inner city headbanger.
Andy, I gotta ask. You said that Adam wants to fight Leon. Has that fight ever been discussed with Cage Warriors?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know.
Okay.
not when he's with me. Maybe when he's with the Americans. Could have been.
Right. Okay.
I don't know now. I don't know. But I know he wants to fight him, you know. But what's the point if it doesn't mean anything? If it was a title eliminator or something, you say yeah, or you know, interim belt or something, you say yeah. But what's the point putting two good lads together like?
There's so many good lads in that division. Like, there's I know he trains with Orozco, but then there's Figlak, there's Michelis, there's obviously Binder that's now entered Cage Wars. There's
I think Binder has to prove himself.
Binder has to make weight and has to get a win in Cage Wars first. But
he's got to get a couple of wins. I think he's got to get a couple of wins. The two boys that saved the time there, you know.
Yeah, but like, are you looking? Because you mentioned there, like, you know, not wanting to jump into big fights. Perhaps maybe unless it's for a title, but could you see him fighting one of the other contenders ahead of a title fight, or would you rather? Yeah,
that's what I mean. It would have to mean something. If Ian said to us, right, you know, here's the top two guys in the division outside the champion, if you know, okay, we'll take it. But are we going to get a title shot off if we win it? You know, I think we got to be asking like that, because we usually don't. We usually just whoever you give us, we'll fight. And it doesn't always work out, you know. So maybe it's time we start calling a few shots as well, you know.
It's obviously a huge event for Cage Warriors, 200, and it's all go for you in the gym. Like you talked about you go through the spurts where you've got loads of fighters, you have a lull, then you come back, you've loads of lads competing and looking to break through. But I'm curious, like when you look back on those nights in the Helix, those nights with Siri and Redzer and the rest of the team, which do you prefer? Did you prefer being around the scene and going to those events back then, or do you prefer it now, or can you compare?
You can compare, because I find the events, say that 2010 to 2015, say you would do a lot of traveling. You'd done the circuit. We were in the Ukraine, we were in Jordan, we were in the Lebanon with Cage Warriors, you know, all over the UK, Scotland, you know, Siri the Great win in Scotland, you know. So I think then it was a little bit more, you were travelling, you were part of it circuit and a part of it, sort of a team of different fighters, and you had to work your way up the rankings. So I think then was better. I enjoyed it more. Now I'm probably spoiled a bit now. So because I have James there, James is doing a lot of coaching. Siri's back up doing a bit of coaching with the flyweights. So where I didn't have that before, it would have been me on my own. So now I have a good bit of help in the gym. Like a great help to me in the gym is Graham Sheehan. Can't get him a fight anywhere. He's 0-1 as a middleweight, and he's asking more shows to get on. And then when they see it's James, his brother, and he look up his record, they don't want to fight him. So he's a great help to me in the gym. He does a lot of coaching, and James does a lot of coaching. Where before I wouldn't have having that, I would have been doing a lot of it myself. And then a lot of my guys go to DCA for their striking, the Thai boxing, which is great as well. So the pressure isn't on me as much. But I did enjoy the travelling. I did enjoy on the plane going around the different venues and, you know, fighting around the world. I did enjoy that, where it's a lot now that, you know, the Irish guys are probably going to fight in Ireland, and you might get a call to London every now and again. And that's about it, you know.
Yeah. When I was listening to you talking about James there and how, you know, he's got the family business and he's got, you know, a lot going on, probably to make ends meet as well.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, so I got into Irish MMA. I got into MMA because of McGregor, but I got into Irish MMA because of the likes of the documentaries that SevereMMA did with Siri, where they're following along and, you know, we're seeing him just fucking grind with a day job, and then on the back of that, training full time in search of this dream.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing you talk about fighters over a decade later who have won Cage Warriors world titles, and okay, albeit obviously in James's specific case, he's injured and he lost the title and all that crack as well. But we're still in a place. I'm like, is it frustrating for you? We're still in a place where fighters are having to have full-time jobs, and it feels to me that we're not even really that much further along as a sport as far as the financial reward of fighting.
I don't know, because I had that discussion. My nephew was a boxer, and he's a professional boxer, and he's an Irish title coming up, and I spoke to a couple of boxing managers and spoke to guys, and outside of the big names, they're not making money. Like most of them guys have to sell their tickets to cover their portion of their opponent's purse. So you've got to sell $6,000 worth of tickets to fight in the show. You know, you don't get that with the MMA, and they're not getting big purses. So everyone say the thing I look at and say, someone gets signed to Matchroom or something like that. You know, their first fight, what are they getting on that? Probably $5,000. If you go to UFC, you're getting 20 grand or 24 grand. You know, I know you're only starting, but everybody can't jump in and get $1 million straight away. Like, I think all the big guys in the UFC are making plenty of money. It's the opportunities, I think, the sponsorship. We thought when Siri was going to go to the UFC, he'd be throwing sponsors all over us. There was fucking nothing, you know. And that was before the Reebok. Then the Reebok came in. At least Siri was getting $5,000, you know, off Reebok every time he fought, you know.
Do you think that's changed now?
I don't think so. I don't. I still think that nothing has really changed, hasn't in the last 10 years, really. Like, is there, outside of Ian Gary, is there anyone making big money? I know Paul Hughes got a few bob, you know, but Ian Gary's making big money, isn't he? He's probably making the biggest. And like, how many other fighters have we got in the same? They're not making fuck all.
And Ian's up in the top three, really, in the UFC.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So it's like boxing. If you're in the 20 to 30s, you're just getting your fee, you know. I know people think this, that every boxer's getting $1 million in the fight. I remember having a chat with Bernard Dunn one time and talking about him. He'd won a big fight in the Tree Arena, and I was saying, that's bleeding brilliant, and make a few quid. He said, "That cost me a fortune." He had to pay for the whole guy's team and entourage, and, you know, covered a certain amount of tickets. Then they give him their manager 20%. The promoter gets his percentage. They pay the cuts man gets a percentage. All that, you know. So I think sometimes we look at the MMA and we think that, okay, you're on Cage Warriors now, you're fighting for the title, you should be getting $100,000 a fight. You know, it's not there. I'd love them to be give them $100,000 a fight. I look at them all, and I think Reds are, I say it all the time, I think Reds have got a hard deal. I think for someone that's so invested in Irish MMA, he did a great job, and I would have liked to see him get another shot at the UFC. But it's great the way he's come back to Cage Warriors, and he's sort of the voice of Cage Warriors now. And the videos he did for the Dublin show were brilliant.
Brilliant. Absolutely, yeah. And it's great that he's, you know, as you said, it's great that he is a part of it now as well.
Yeah,
he's the voice of it, and he's sharing the stories as well. And
I thought he looked very professional, very relaxed, and a little bit of authority when he was doing those videos. Like, he could respect what he was saying, because he's been there and he's done it. You know, he's a tough guy. The cauliflower ears, he's broke up, he's scars in his face. He's not bullshitting. You know what I mean? He's not like us, bullshit. He's been in there and done it. So I thought he'd done a brilliant job, and it's great to see them giving him the bit of work.
100%.
It absolutely is. Andy, we were chatting the other day, and you can tell me to fuck off here. I'm chancing my arm. Do you have a bit of news? Do you have a bit of news for us? Bit of news to break? You didn't tell me what it was.
I had a little bit of news, but I'm waiting for the news to be confirmed. It's nothing big anyway. It's nothing mad. It's not mad.
Okay. We'll get the blimp out and fucking put it across Dublin.
Yeah. Right. Tell you next week.
Grand job.
Andy, before we let you go, when we got you on first time, I think we spoke a lot about your role in Iman and how you were head coach that team for such a long time, and recognition, so on and so forth. I know you've stepped back from all that, but obviously you have your ear to all this. What's your kind of opinion on how things are going now? Because it's changed quite a lot in the last 2 years in particular, and even with the recognition, we're not right here much. Is there anything from your side you've heard?
I think it's coming, but it's people think that you get recognition and all of a sudden then, you know, we're all getting £1 million. You get nothing. So it is coming. As far as I know now, there is stuff happening at the moment. and it is coming. They're on the last hurdle there. Danny Carr and Tim Murphy have been going above and beyond doing stuff. Danny Carr does a lot with the Ulster Council and Sport Northern Ireland, and then Tim Murphy's doing a lot of stuff here. So the lads, and when I've been talking, I'm still involved in the meetings, I'm still listening. It's very close. It's very close.
I think obviously, you were saying there, Andy, that if it gets recognised, no one's going to be making millions, and I definitely think we recognise that as well. But I think the thing that we've been talking about and the importance for the growth of mixed martial arts in the country of Ireland is the more freedom to put on those regional shows. Because that's
but even without recognition, there's no difference in putting a show on with recognition or no recognition.
But isn't it not down to, would there be not some level of regulations over safety or something, or could we get?
No, should we have that already?
Well, how come there's not as much shows going on maybe in the south of Ireland than there is in the north?
Because a lot of venues won't put them on because of the whole thing with the boxing thing that time, and expenses, and a lot of fighters don't want to get the scans, and a lot of shows can't afford the medical end of it, because we sort of went above and beyond what we were doing. Like for your small Cage Legacy show or your Battlezone show or whatever show it is in Dublin, you were doing the same medical stuff that Bama was doing, or Bellator was doing, or UFC is doing nearly, which is bleeding crazy, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you go to the venue the next day and go to a kickboxing or boxing fight with just the paramedics there. Yeah. So I think that screwed us a little bit. But you get recognised, you don't get regulated. So there's no one going to, so say tomorrow IMA is told by the government that, okay, you are the boys, we recognise you as MMA in Ireland. I can go and start my own association tomorrow. No one's going to give a shit. There's no... The thing I want from it is sport, is child protection, all the workshop stuff we can do for coaching, coach awareness, stuff working with parents, all that type of stuff, insurance, so that when you have a coach teaching, teaching an MMA class in the gym, that has a recognised cert from Sport Ireland and is accredited as, as a proper coaching background, right the way the wrestling and everything else has,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all you're going to get out of it, really. I know that I had a discussion with Barry Oglesby, and they're sort of trying to get the jiu-jitsu recognised, and that's happening. And people were thinking, oh, that's great, now I'll get money to send me to the World Championships. You get no money. There's no money. You might be able to apply for a sports grant, and you'll be able to do your coaching course with, the Sports Council will be backing it, or will be, but that's it.
Is there anything that could be done, from government backing? You said regulation versus recognition. If regulation did come eventually, is that going to make it easier for maybe some people to put on shows, maybe people like yourself, to get the battle zones going, to get the
no, not really, because it's not going to make a difference. I can go out and put a show on tomorrow without anyone and say, fuck IMA or fuck whatever, I'm doing my own show, and then it's up to someone to come and close it down. You know what I mean? But no, I don't think so. I think what it will be better, never mind the shows, it'll be better for the clubs. And I think that with amateur MMA, maybe should be more like the daytime shows, where you're, all the kids are fighting and adults are fighting and, beginners are fighting, that type of stuff. I think the shows is a different kettle of fish altogether. So I think IMAF's job is more on that, what you see in there, the nationals, and, there's kids fighting all day long. That's what I think it's about, really.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday Night Show thing is good as well, but I think there's a place for it as well.
For sure.
Before we let you go, Andy, like we mentioned at the beginning, it's 20 years of Team Ryano.
Yeah.
Coaching 20 years. Do you think you'll be still coaching in 20 years' time?
I hope so. I keep saying to all the lads, listen, all I want is one sports car. I thought I would have a mansion somewhere and I would have been living in it, I said, just even the lot of you, try and get it. It doesn't have to be anything flashy.
You're doing
second-hand sports car, do me.
Yeah, you're running Ironmans instead of this flashy sports cars at the big house at this stage.
You'll get carbon fiber.
No, listen. I do it for the love of it and to be involved in it, and I'll never be a rich man out of it. But I'm rich in life. With I've great friends, I've great students in the gym. My gym is it's very family orientated. So I'm lucky like that. So I'm gone very soft to my old age. Look,
tell that Pox Siri to get on the show, will you, Andy?
Yeah, will you not come on now?
He's no. No,
he won't come on.
He's afraid. He's afraid. He can't handle us.
Catch him in the gym one of the days. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah. That's the tactic, I think. That's the tactic.
Yeah,
I'm too afraid to step into your gym, Andy.
No, you're always welcome in my gym. You're never afraid to come up there.
Andy, thank you so much.
Listen, lads, it's a pleasure. You do a great job. Love being on it. Love the coverage you give to the Irish fighters. You know, it's well deserved. So thanks very much, lads.
Thank you for joining us, Andy.
Thank you. First guest, 100th guest. The way to do it.
And it was the first, was I can't remember.
You were the first.
What year was that?
Yeah.
Number 1.
What year was that?
3 or 4 years ago, was it?
2022. 4 years ago.
I'm probably saying the same shite then as I am now, am I? I don't think I had glasses either then.
Very Clark Kent look there now.
I can't fucking see. That's all that is. No, look at me. Look, I need to get any sponsors out there want to sponsor me a bit of Botox. Look. We'll take that. Right, lads, listen.
Nice
enjoy your Sunday. Thanks very much. See us all next week. Big night for Team Ryano. Big night for Irish MMA. Good luck.
Cheers, Andy. All right, boys. The prelim section of the card is absolutely jam-packed. Look, we're well up on the podcast now. We're not really going to have the time to discuss all of these fights in detail. They will be broken down in detail on the next episode of the Auld Triangle podcast. But, we definitely want to highlight a few that we're looking forward to as well. And, Andy, I brought you the welterweight conversation. Maybe your second favorite topic to talk about when Irish mixed martial arts is Irish versus Irish fights, and we've got 2 on the undercard here. The fantastic fight between Alexander O'Sullivan and Scott Harvey, on 2 undefeated prospects up and coming, and obviously Lewis Byrne and Dylan Logan fighting on the card as well. We chatted to Andy a little bit about Lewis Byrne's fight, but we do love Irish fights here on the Auld Triangle.
We absolutely do. And yeah, I mean, look, we can't overlook it's Alexander O'Sullivan versus Scott Harvey. Like, as far as outside of the top 2 title fights, this is the fight I want to see most. It's just 2 guys really high on. Alexander O'Sullivan brings so much experience in from his amateur days. He kind of had to put his own career to a degree, not fully, but like to a degree, on the back burner, because he was doing so much as far as coach and gym and things like that. And now we've seen this activity from him more recently, and he looks phenomenal, and he looks to be getting better and better. And we've seen him submit guys. We've seen him go the distance, obviously, in his last couple against Dario and Manuel Lancioli. And Scott Harvey, is a guy who really has been around a long, long time. Also, he's pushing to get momentum in his career. Like, I think he's pushing 30 now. I don't want to age him. I think he's around 30. And, we've seen him. He's fought really tough guys. He's fought Kieran Breslin, in his pro debut. He fought Alexander Yankov. He's gotten a win and a finish over another fighter on the regional scene. And then he came into Cage Warriors, and like that win, his most recent win, that's the one you don't look any further than. It's the Leon Arms win. This is a guy very much hyped up, very much earmarked as a real prospect in Cage Warriors, and he went out there and systematically beat him. And I think that, as far as breaking down this matchup, I don't know how to do that. I'll leave that for you or for someone else to do, because I don't know who's going to win here. I've no idea. I think it's 2 lads who are very evenly matched, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. If you were to ask me who wins, this isn't sitting on the fence. I don't know who I'd pick.
It's a tough one for sure. Like, I mean, stylistically, it could be whoever brings in the better game plan in here. Both of them are fantastically well-rounded fighters, and Alexander O'Sullivan and Scott Harvey. And, sometimes it's all right to just kind of say, hey, let's see what happens here. In terms, Scott Harvey obviously brings a very grappling-based style in. Alexander O'Sullivan is very good on the ground. So is this a fight that's going to play out on the feet? And, who's going to be the more equipped to be able to deal with each other on the feet there as well? I don't know. Would I give a striking advantage maybe a little bit more to Alexander O'Sullivan? Maybe. But at the same time, Scott Harvey, if he can come in and mix up his takedowns and his strikings too, that can create some openings as well. And it's just a really, really fantastic fight. I really can't wait.
It's pure sport as well, right? It's like 2 lads who are very just no nonsense, down to earth. You never hear them kind of talking shit. They're not like the stereotypical MMA fighter that people who don't no idea what MMA is think it is in this country. They're just like two martial artists, I would say, coming in here, and it's a pure sporting contest, and I love that.
100%. All Alexander O'Sullivan wants is to buy some Lego, lads. He wants to get the 10G and buy some Lego. So ain't no more down to earth than that. Caoilte, a couple of undefeated Irish prospects coming in here, and one Irish prospect that's making his professional debut. Obviously, Conor McCarthy is taking on Edison Silva in the lightweight division. We have Keith Keogh in the featherweight division taking on Gabriel Ramos. And obviously, Alex Keogh, our SevereMMA Amateur of the Year, who will be making his professional debut against Taylor Sullivan as well. 3 real good prospects, 3 guys that you have been following, obviously following the 2 lads in Conor and Keith up through their amateur career, and obviously keeping a close eye on Alex as well in his amateur career, now making the jump to professional. And it's a great card for him to be making his debut on, and 2 great fights against 2 Brazilians for Conor and Keith as well.
That's it. 2 members of Team Caoilte up on the prelims. So,
I love it.
It's going to be, we're coming in hot. We're going
relegated to the prelims, is it?
No. They're coming to make a bang and, get the place rocking. The 2 boys, high expectations they got Team Caoilte on their backs now in this one. But
do you have to have the T-shirts and everything? Named out Team Caoilte over the heart of each fighter as well, because such a close bond there on the team.
It's a work in progress. We're still looking for sponsors.
Who's the headline of the card actually?
Which one?
This card.
Oh, Salah and Nick.
Oh, and whose team is Solomon on? And who's co-main of the card?
Well, 2 fighters.
And whose team is Paddy on?
Those are 2.
The main event, the co-main event, and not even just that. The next fight down, Leon
those
Hill.
Are 2 fighters. Those are 2 fighters that were stolen from Team O'Neill. That's all I'll say.
Team Stevenson headlining 1, 2, and 3 on the card.
Back to Caoilte. Let's talk about these prelim fights quickly.
I've got 2 in the main card.
I've
got 2 in the main card too. So I've got 4 total. I think I could be miscounting, but we'll but yeah, back to the prelims. Look, the 2 Brazilian lads that Keith and Conor up against, like I said, it's similar to Max. You just don't know what you're going to get. So it'd be more interesting what type of how Keith and Conor look in these fights. Conor's been getting better every fight. He's been, he's been taking some seriously difficult fights, and he's just kind of leveling up every single one. He's got that athleticism that's just unmatched, and the striking so crisp, and you see the ground game as well at times, but it's his boxing always stands out significantly. So always exciting to see Conor McCarthy in there. Keith Keogh still doesn't have a nickname. I don't know if he's called the Octopus. He's just he's fun to watch. He takes a few hits, but to land his own strikes, and then gets it down, and then he tends to pull off some absolute madness on the floor at times as well. Really fun to watch, fantastic grappling, and really good striking, as we saw in the last event too. So, 2 real big prospects there on the card. And then Alex Keogh, the highly anticipated pro debut. Like this guy, Severe Amateur of the Year for 2025. Won the European Championships, highly touted all around Ireland, especially from the gym. And when you watch him, he goes through lads like a knife through butter. My goodness, it's his grappling is insane. Very high on him as a prospect. It is his pro debut, so look, we'll see how he adjusts to the pro ranks. But from seeing him as an amateur, he was fantastic. So very excited to see how he does, and it shows, I think, how highly he's thought of when Ian Dean is signing you up to have your pro debut on Cage Warriors 200. So I think that does say a lot.
Absolutely, very well said. I want to highlight the debut as well. Obviously, we're talking about professional debuts. I want to talk about the Cage Warriors debut of Andreas Binder as well. It's obviously a massive, massive fight for Andreas, who had an up and down 2025, obviously coming in as a former LFL champion after an appearance on The Ultimate Fighter as well. This is a catchweight 175-pound fight, so we want to hope that he makes that weight safely. Obviously, he'll want to come in and be a major player in the welterweight division in Cage Warriors, and he's got to make sure that he's got that side of things right. Obviously, the performances are there. He's an exciting fighter. He's coming in to take on an experienced Brazilian in Otten Jassy, who's 21-10 here as well. Andreas is coming in as a 10-2 prospects, looking to shake things up in the welterweight division. So I am definitely excited to see that as well. And I think you want to share a quick opinion on that, Andy?
No, I was just to call out as well. So just get, because it is a catchweight, it's a 175-pound catchweight, and given we've had a lot of conversations about Andreas Binder and making weight, just to highlight, this is a catchweight because Binder was originally supposed to fight Matthias Figlak. That fight fell through. He was then supposed to fight Giacomo Michelis. That fell through. So two, contenders in division, and now he's fighting Otten Jas. So I don't think it's on Andreas, or what I've been told is it's not on Andreas.
Not that I was saying it was either.
No, I know you weren't, but I just wanted just to in case anyone's listening and is thinking, the weight thing again, it's 175, not because Andreas Binder needs it that, but that's just he's dealing with multiple late notice opponent changes, but still important that he goes out there and makes the weight regardless.
Yeah, we see that quite often in Cage Warriors too as well. And look, if you don't have to get down to the 170 as well, it's their debut. He'll probably have to fight a couple of more times after this if he wants to get into the title mix as well. So obviously he'll be 170 the next time as well. But very good. I'm excited to see Andreas there in the yellow gloves. I think it's a great signing. I think it's a great move for him to kind of get into the mix there, and lots of great fights there potentially for Andreas if he can get the job done firstly on Saturday night, and I'm sure he will. It'll be good to see what's next for him as well. As we round up this card, I'll just run through real quickly who else is on the card. We won't necessarily break it down. Like I said, next episode we get tucked into all of these fights. We have Damian McKenna, who's going out there to make his second Cage Warriors appearance against Pedro Silva. We have Kenny Mokuhana versus Grant Ogborn, a very good, well-matched fight there as well. And obviously, Trevor McKengo versus Ricardo Fernandez, who somewhat is a mystery man, really, in Cage Warriors. We couldn't find any information on that guy whatsoever. But
that's another late notice change, I think, as well, because he was supposed to fight. I can't remember who he's supposed to fight now, but Elliot McGibbon, I think.
Yes,
Elliot McGibbon.
He might even have one or two, but that
actually,
kind of
did you see McKengo was like putting up on his stories? He was like trying to call McGibbon. I don't think he was very happy with Elliot McGibbon because it seemed like he was hunting him down a bit. It was entertaining to watch from afar.
That's why this fella doesn't have Instagram. He deleted. He's like, no,
he's like calling him.
Deleted his Tapology and Sherdog too.
Fantastic. Well, that wraps up our kind of Cage Warriors preview as well. Look at we're very delighted to have the two guests on. We'll quickly break down the card. Andy will be there in attendance on Saturday. You can definitely check out some of his interviews with all the winners after the fight. Check him out on SevereMMA.com. I know always does a great job. Looking forward to hearing what all the fighters have to say. Thanks to everybody. Like I said, 100 episodes in. Thanks for everybody for the support over 100 episodes. If you like what you hear, share it with a friend. Give us a like and a share. Like the YouTube video. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify or wherever you listen to the El Triangle podcast. We love and appreciate everybody that tunes in each and every week, even through the longer episodes. We're trying to tighten them up for you. We will do our best to do that in 2026, but this was a big one. We had to go a little bit longer than we wanted.
Don't make it easy on you.
But it is what it is. It is what it is. I guess all is left for us to do is for Caoilte to see us out.
Well, it's for the last time in a while I'll be recording in Ireland. So next time you'll be hearing from me, it'll be somewhere else in the world. So until then, Gurmi and Mahagif, agus Slán go fóill.